Oh! Ah! Oh! Ah!
Are you aware of why you were summoned?
No.
You have spoken out against Doctor Who Series 11, and for that, you have been in prison for the past month and a half.
What? All I said was that Series 11 wasn't good. Is that now illegal?
Well, yes, you're not allowed opinions of Doctor Who Series 11. It's completely against the rules.
What do you mean I'm not allowed to have an opinion? What if I've got reasons?
What do you mean you've got reasons?
Reasons are fundamental aspects of why we have opinions. It's needed in a fandom, it's necessary.
Reasons aren't allowed. You're just not allowed to have any say.
What do you mean I can't have reasons? That's stupid.
You're going to keep going on about this for a long time, aren't you?
No, I'm not going to let this go until you have given me a chance to explain myself.
Alright, fine. Tell me your reasons, and this council will decide whether you live or die. I mean, imprisoned for another month and a half. I have spoken.
Right. Thank you. Death? Hey guys, and welcome back to another video by myself, Delicate101 Productions. Today I am on trial for my life. So for the past month and a half, I've been kidnapped by Daleks. I've been sitting in a room, very much like this one, living a life, very much like mine. But in fact, I haven't been living my life. I've been living my life in a simulation, because those bastards over there, the Mechanoid and the 4 Daleks, don't want me reviewing Doctor Who Series 11. And I'm fine with that. I don't want to review Doctor Who Series 11. I started it, it didn't work. However, I do want to say, for the record, that I want to make a statement about Doctor Who Series 11. Not a review, a statement. I'm not very good at doing reviews. I'm just very good at saying, I like this, I like that, I don't like this, I don't like that. And that's not very good for a video. So instead, I thought I'd make a justification for why Doctor Who Series 11 sucked, but also why it didn't. Now, I never thought I'd say this, but I do actually have justifying reasons to why Doctor Who Series 11 was good. And it's not because Series 11 was good. It did other things that made Series 11 good, which is a little bit complicated. I'll get to it. Starting on a negative, Doctor Who Series 11 didn't work for me because it was very bland. It was very boring. I commute to college Mondays and Thursdays, and I have an hour to an hour and a half drive there and back every day. So I basically spend 2 to 2.5 hours of the day driving. So I have 2 to 2.5 hours to kill. So I listen to Big Finish. I listen to stories I've already listened to, I listen to new stories, I buy them, I put them on my thing, I subscribe to them, and I listen to them, and I play them through my phone. I listen to them while I walk the dogs, and I listen to them while I hoover, and I listen to them while I clean my bathroom, and I listen to them while I iron, and I listen to them while I edit my videos. I listen to Big Finish all the time. Now, I'm probably a little bit obsessive about it, but who isn't? As soon as you start listening to it, you are hooked. And I got hooked on Dark Eyes, which is the 8th Doctor, and now the 8th Doctor is my favourite Doctor. I mean, he was anyway, but still. Now he's definitely my favourite Doctor, without a shadow of a doubt. So for me, Doctor Who Series 11 was fighting against Big Finish. It was fighting against the comic books that I have back here from Doctor Who magazine. It's fighting against books that I do read. It's fighting against a whole lot of things. It's also fighting against 55 years of history, which in itself is an uphill battle. So already Doctor Who Series 11 is starting off with both of its legs chopped off, one of its eyes pulled out, and it's got chains wrapped around its back, and now it needs to crawl up an angle like this. So Doctor Who Series 11 had its work cut out for it. Jodie Whittaker had her work cut out for it because she had 13 other Doctors before her that she needed to surpass, well, not surpass, but not battle against, but rival against. Let's say that word. That's not the right word, but it's close enough to what I'm wanting to say. So she had an uphill battle. Chris Chibnall had an uphill battle. The new writing staff had an uphill battle. Completely bringing in about 80% of new people into Doctor Who for Series 11 probably wasn't the smartest thing to do. It's a ballsy move, but it's not the best move. So Doctor Who Series 11 had an uphill fight, and all it kept doing for me was sliding down that hill. The stories promised something amazing, but you never got it. We were promised something brilliant, but we never got it. Chibnall promised a 3-year plan, but we haven't seen any evidence of that. There's been some revitalisation, there's been some going back to the roots, there's been some historical stories, but everything has felt a bit lacklustre. All the stories themselves have felt very a bit whimsical. And there's nothing wrong with whimsical, as long as there is a genuine danger. But every single episode of Doctor Who Series 11 had no real sense of danger. Either the enemy was half-arsed, or the enemy was just something that was misunderstood, miscreated, needed help. There was nothing that... There was no genuine danger, like a Dalek. But then even in Resolution there was no genuine danger because the story wasn't performed well. The thing is, Doctor Who Series 11 isn't a good series. It's performed very weakly, it's written very weakly, and the characters just don't seem like themselves. For me, I can't see Jodie Whittaker as the Doctor because she doesn't perform as the Doctor. She performs as a fan film creator playing David Tennant. A lot of people have said in their comments, oh, I love Jodie Whittaker because she reminds me of David Tennant. She's very David Tennant-y. And that's true. She is. Because that's what she channels. All her facial expressions, all her outbursts are very Tennant-y and very Matt Smithy. And that doesn't work. Whittaker doesn't have her own identity. She doesn't have her own Doctor to say, this is who I am. She's an amalgamation and a butchering of an 11th Doctor and a 10th Doctor, and that doesn't work. When she says something like, in episode 10, she was like, Graham, you can't do this. If you do this, I will fight you on it. There's no power behind her words. There's no confidence behind her words. And I would have loved to have seen Series 11 written like that, with the 11th Doctor being just, with the 11th Doctor, for God's sake, with the 13th Doctor being just maybe that little bit more timid, that little bit more naive, coming from the 12th Doctor who believes that he shouldn't exist anymore, to being the 13th Doctor that believes, well, should I exist? And trying to confirm that. That would be a better way of portraying the 13th Doctor, and that's not done because there's no evidence of that. It's just the 13th Doctor being very, very weak and very, very wordy and very, very sonic screwdriver heavy. So Series 11 doesn't work for me on a personal level, but it does for other people, which is good. It's a much simpler series, it's a much more refined series, it's a much more pulled back series, and in a way that is a good idea to have. But you need to do it in a certain way that still brings in new audience, but remembers and honours your older audience. You don't want to be alienating your previous audience because you're going to have a lot more previous people that watch the series than you are new people watching the series. If 1 million people stop watching the series who have been watching since 1963, you're not going to get 1 million new people that are going to watch the series from 2019. You're probably going to get 1,000, 2,000 at most. So the more people you lose, you're not going to build them back up from the people that come in and watch it. Now, I did say at the beginning of this video that Doctor Who Series 11 did have some good points, and it did. It's made Doctor Who relevant again, but not in the right way, but also not in the wrong way. The fact of having a female Doctor, having some controversial trailers, having some controversial lines, breaking the glass, shattering the glass, this being something that we've never ever seen before. Series 11 is stuff that we've seen before, and breaking the glass is a concept of a woman breaking into a role that she wouldn't necessarily be able to get to because a man works in that role. It's a phrase from the 1920s about women not being able to be doctors or business people or anything like that. It has nothing to do with the relevance of this character that is substantially a male character. We don't have people going around shouting, "Oh, Colonel Hannibal Smith from the A-Team, he wasn't a woman, he was played by a man, but it's progressive if he's played by a woman now." It doesn't work because some characters you can't switch out, and for some people that's what the Doctor was. The Doctor was a male character that shouldn't be female. It's changed now, and it's an interesting concept. For me, I wanted to see, if a woman does take the role, I want to see a very Miss Marple-y kind of Doctor. Someone a bit more like the second Doctor, who's in the background and just kind of doesn't do much until the very end or when necessarily needed. Watches, waits, sees, and then makes the observations and the judgments based on that. We also need someone in the role that can carry this history and this ideology of Doctor Who. Whittaker was told expressly before going into her audition, don't watch anything previous to Doctor Who because you will try and influence them and all that kind of stuff. And I get that that's good. It's like you're told when you're learning to act, if you're going into an audition for something, let's say Les Mis, you don't perform a song in that audition from Les Mis, you perform a song from something else. And that's the same thing going into the audition. Don't act like a previous Doctor, because then you'll bring forward that previous Doctor. So it does feel like watching Series 11, she never watched an episode of Doctor Who except 1 or 2, watched all the Tennants run, watched all the Smiths run, watched all the Capaldis run, and then tried to implement them 3 in. Now, I could be wrong on this, I'm only making a speculation, but I don't believe Whittaker has seen any episode pre-2005 at all. And if she has, fair game to her, but it doesn't come across that she has. I always get the idea that she doesn't know what's going on and she doesn't have any idea about the history beforehand, and that is jarring. But the good things about Doctor Who Series 11, which I do apologise, I kind of digressed there, but the good thing about Doctor Who Series 11 is it is making people talk about Doctor Who again. It's making people talk about the show. It's making people bring about their opinions, saying why they like this Doctor, why they like that Doctor, why they don't like this episode, why they don't like that episode, why they do like this episode, why this is the best episode ever. It's bringing forth a brand new conversation about Doctor Who, and that is good. While Series 11 for 50% of the fandom was terrible and for 50% it was brilliant, that doesn't matter. That divide doesn't really matter. All you need to concentrate on is yourself. Did you like it? Good. If you didn't, good as well. You're allowed to dislike and like different things. But the conversation, the discussion is the most important part. Series 11 has created so much diversity, so much division that you're talking about it every single day. I'm finding myself commenting more and more on Facebook pages, explaining why I didn't like this and why I think it didn't work and what would work instead. And it's good to be able to join that fandom together like that. As much as it's splitting the fandom apart, it's also bringing us back together in a different way that we didn't think was possible, and that is good. So while Doctor Who Series 11 didn't work for me on a personal level, on a thoughtful level, it's brilliant because it's brought about thoughts I never thought I'd have. And that's the thing. Doctor Who Series 11 wasn't good on the terms of being Doctor Who. It didn't conform to anything that's come previous, and it didn't relate to anything that came previous. But it's always being talked about. The thing with Doctor Who is, it does sometimes drop off the radar. While there are still people who are very indebted to it and very familiar with it and very in love with it will always talk about it. Someone who's just a casual viewer who doesn't really who only watches for the sake of watching, if the show disappears or stops or changes, they may not necessarily continue with it. But if the discussion's there, they may start thinking, oh, well, okay then, we'll start having a lark. So that's why Doctor Who Series 11 shouldn't be... That's why Doctor Who Series 12 shouldn't be coming in 2020, because it wouldn't work. It would be a horrible reformat that would just end up destroying everything that came before it. And that's my review of Doctor Who Series 11. It didn't work for me, but I've been spoiled by so many other brilliant stories that something as simple as Doctor Who Series 11 doesn't conform to me. It doesn't work, it doesn't register. But for other people it does. Because if they're not aware of Big Finish, or if they're not as big a fan as Big Finish as me, or they're not a bigger fan as the classic series as me, then it's going to work for them on a different level. If Jodie Whittaker's your first Doctor, then please, 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 please go back and watch something previous, because it's important and it's imperative. And that's the thing about Doctor Who Series 11. Whether you love it or you hate it, it's caused discussion. Whether it be bad discussion or good discussion. And as people say in the acting industry, no publicity is bad publicity. And that's what Doctor Who Series 11 is. So Doctor Who Series 11 has done its job, but it also hasn't done its job. And that's why it's difficult to review. Because on one side of the coin it's done a good job, but on the other side of the coin it's not. But for me personally, it's lackluster, weak, and very, very miserable to watch. So that's it. Council, audience, that's my opinion. That's it, as fleshed out and as civil as I can be. I've not gone back and rewatched anything from Doctor Who Series 11, and I'm never going to. I'm probably not going to be watching Doctor Who Series 12 either. Mainly for the fact that I'm losing interest, and the fact that there's still another year and a bit for it to come out doesn't work for me. But I'm subscribed to Big Finish, so I'm going to be listening to Big Finish. I'm going to be getting the Doctor Who Classic Blu-ray box sets and watch them and get reinvested in the classic era. Because I know what I like. And that's what I'm going to stick with. So if you're a fan of Jodie Whittaker, stick with it. I'm sure it'll do you well. And if you're not a fan of Jodie Whittaker, just remember, your opinion is valid. You're allowed to not like a Doctor. There are many people out there who consider Colin Baker to be the worst Doctor. There are many people out there who do consider Colin Baker to be the worst Doctor and make that very vocal. And some people are very nasty about it. Or they used to be, they're not so much now, but people used to be very nasty about it. We can't have opinions now without offending anyone. But fuck it. Offend away. Your opinion's your own opinion, and whether it be right or wrong, you're always justifiable to have your opinion. Unless it's about murdering someone. In which case you're always right. So, audience, council, thank you very much. You've heard my opinion, now what's yours? I'm interested to see what your comments are, and I'm interested to see if you agree with me or disagree with me or think that I'm babbling on like some sort of idiotic buffoon, which wouldn't surprise me. So, yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching, guys. Thank you very much for listening. And I'll see you next time.